The opening isn't just procedural, it quietly sets control. The court locks in structure fast, establishing who matters and who speaks with authority. But the real shift happens the moment paternity results land. That single confirmation instantly reshapes the battlefield. The father goes from optional presence to legally accountable figure overnight.
We're here today set for our initial permanency hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming, and Ms. Goodman is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the Department, the St. Francis Permanency Specialist. Given the report today is Peyton Silm.
Jerry Morales for respondent father Marco Reyes. He's present. We are ready.
Pamela Sermon standing in for Natalie Archer. Natalie represents the mother in this case, Miss Alyssa Browning, who's present on the video system.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of the child.
And Judge, before giving the report, we do have a housekeeping matter to take care of. Paternity testing did come back, and it shows that Mr. Ruiz is the father of the child, and as such, we will ask that he be adjudicated father today.
All right, got that in my notes to take care of today. Mr. Morales, any reason why we should not proceed with that today?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor. Not with the DNA results.
All right. All right, Ms. Sim, solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll give today will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to let you go ahead and give us an update, and then we'll see who's got questions, and we'll take up the genetic testing.
Yes, ma'am. Maximo is placed in a licensed kinship placement. He's doing really well there. He's a pretty happy baby. He walks outside and being held a lot. He is up to date on all medical and vision. He was referred to ECI for speech therapy. He is not on any medications at this time. Overall, he's doing well and there's no concerns. As far as Miss Alyssa Browning, we do not have proof of housing. She reports to be working at a Quality Inn. However, we do not have pay stubs. A family plan of service was created and she signed it. She had maintained regular contact with St. Francis. She did have a parent support worker who tried to set up visits. However, Ms. Browning no-showed on the first visit and canceled on the second. Ms. Browning has a car. We do not have proof of insurance or a driver's license. She has not completed her OSAR evaluation. She has not completed parenting classes. She has not completed individual therapy. She has not completed her psychosocial evaluation. She drug screened in September. It was a UA. It came back negative. She went in October. It was a UA. It was positive for COVID. Her hair follicle in October was negative. In December, she completed a UA and it was positive for amphetamines. She did a hair follicle in December and it came back positive for amphetamines. She has not drug screened for us since. At the very beginning of the case, I believe there were in-person visits set up between Mom and Maximo, and Mom did not attend any of those visits, so I instructed the worker to move them to virtual, and she was not responsive to our virtual provider. And I believe there was only one successful visit that was virtual. I don't know why. I haven't worked the case myself. I just supervised it. But I mean, if we can get a clear line of communication set up between ourselves, mom, a parent support worker, and the visitation provider, it would be incredibly helpful. As far as Marco Ruiz, Marco has stable housing at this time. He has employment at this time, and we do have proof of employment. He did sign his family plan of service. He has maintained regular contact with our worker. He has transportation. I'm unsure if we have a driver's license and insurance. Visitation status was previously pending paternity establishment. So if you'd like to get that set up, we absolutely can. Parenting classes haven't been started. Therapy hasn't been started. A psychosocial evaluation had not been started. He was sent to drug screen. He completed a UA in December that was negative and a UA in March that was negative.
And Judge, an amended court report is being filed. The drug screens all had 20 for mother. The majority had 2026 on those, and they should have said 2025. So just to let everybody know that that amended report, I think was submitted either yesterday or first thing this morning, just to clear those dates up.
Okay. All right, Ms. Sim, anything further with respect to parents or the
I
child?
hope I got everything.
All right. Have you all had contact with him since the genetic testing came back?
I personally have not. I do not know if my worker did before he left.
The questioning phase subtly exposes a gap in the system. Not just the parents, the caseworker lacks full knowledge of the father's history, and that becomes a tactical opening. The defense immediately pivots to prior involvement, framing the father as someone already tested and proven.
All right. Well, Mr. Morales, I just want to make sure he understands that now he's going to be adjudicated the father, that he needs to really start working the services because the clock's ticking.
Yeah, Judge. I mean, I have some comments about that whenever you're ready.
Okay. Give me just a minute and we'll get back to it.
Judge.
Okay. Ms. Sermon, do you have any questions for Ms. Sim?
The only thing that I'm aware of from Mother is she wants a specific date and time for her virtual visits because it moves. And since they're virtual, that would help her set her schedule. If she knew they were always, at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday or something, so she could do her work schedule and make those appointments.
We can absolutely do that.
Thank you. That would help Miss Browning. That's all I had, Miss Sims.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Morales, any questions?
No question. Actually, yes, just briefly. Miss Sim, I can't recall. Were you at all assigned to the I guess I don't want to call it a companion case, but the case with Maximo's sibling?
I was not. I am aware that there's a case. I don't know if you call it a sibling case, but yes, I'm aware there is a case, but I've never been assigned.
Have you looked into that case at all or reviewed the procedural history of that case?
I think I know a little bit about the case. I haven't gone into the case and read it from beginning to top, but I am aware of the case a little bit.
Are you aware that Mr. Ruiz was essentially a non-offending parent? I mean, I'm not sure if that's how St. Francis did that, but or assigned him, but that he also worked an extensive amount of services.
I did know he worked services on that case. Where the case is now and where it went, I am not aware of.
Ask the witness.
Okay, Mr. House, I had some of the same questions that now that we've adjudicated, or we're going to adjudicate him as the father, but Miss M, would St. Francis have any issue about giving him credit for some of these services that he's already worked successfully?
We would not. I do think I know who the worker is on that case. And if I could get the same documents from her case to add them to this case, I think we could use them together on both cases.
Okay. Understanding, obviously, he still needs to maintain housing, employment, legal transportation, drug screen if we ask him to, any of those things that are ongoing.
Yes.
Okay. But if he successfully completed counseling, RBT, parenting, there's not a reason to repeat those.
Agreed, Your Honor. We could definitely use those.
All right, let's look into that. And then Mr. Morales, hopefully they'll be in contact with you and your client about that.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Ms. Zavala, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then, Ms. Sermon, anything to present or to call mother today?
The only thing was the visitation being a regular time and date so that she could make those visits.
All right. Okay, Mr. Morales, anything to present today?
Yes, Judge, a few things. The first being, and if this is no longer the case, because the last time that we had spoke about this particular incident, it's been about 2 weeks. But Mr. Rees has explained to me that if the court would recall that Miss Browning did have a no contact provision at the last hearing. He would like that thing that reinstated. He told me that he's receiving at the time, at least 2 weeks ago, significant communications or harassment, threatening to try to get him deported, threatening to take the kids. There's just been a bunch of threats from mother, and she's constantly, wanting to come around, wanting money from him. And he's just at the point where he told me 2 weeks ago, he goes, I don't want her around. So, and again, I think a lot of it was just the threatening aspect of it. So I think that might be best. And again, if Mr. Rees, if that's changed in the last 2 weeks, please let me know. The other thing I was just going to present, Judge, was just a bit of frustration. Mr. Ruiz and I had agreed that we were going to look at services and what services to be tailored, depending on obviously whether or not he came back as the father, and he hasn't even been contacted about that since. He no longer have a caseworker, and again, I'm not meaning to point fingers, but I mean, we have a supervisor here that hasn't completely even looked at what services he looked at that he worked a year ago, but yet in the permanency report, which I would imagine took some time, it's just a bunch of accusations that he's not working his services when, in my opinion, he's, again, a non-offending parent and shouldn't have been required to work these services. But again, I understand we're getting that fixed now. As to the stability, and he knows that he's going to still have to do some sort of maybe I don't know if you'd even call it play therapy, but there's going to have to be, some sort of bonding to take place instead of, just a quick placement. He understands that. That's part of his choice of, asking for DNA instead of just for placement right away. But that being said, I think it's a lot to ask for him to expect to completely work another case when he did that last year as a non-offending parent. And I'm assuming he'll do well again like he did last year. But now we're going to get that tailored, Judge. Hopefully I won't have an issue with it next time. I just would like a little more attention brought to my client and communication to my client. And that's all I ask, Judge.
The judge's internal reasoning becomes visible here. She's filtering everything through one lens, efficiency with safety. Repeating services makes no sense if they're already completed, and she openly rejects that redundancy. That's a strong signal.
Okay. I'm going to give Mr. Prowse a chance to make sure he's caught up. All right.
Sorry, I get that way. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So we definitely need to take a look at all of that. I mean, I don't see any reason why he should have to do those things again. So, okay, then Ms. Vala, anything to present today or a recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. Maximo's doing really well, and growing well, adjusting well. Um, I, I think it's a resolved issue, but I am in agreement with Mr. Morales regarding the services. I was involved in that case, and I remember what Dad did. And hope that we can get those visits started with him soon.
And Judge, on the order and for father rather than compliance, I'm going to say mom is not compliant. And however, for father, if the court is okay, I'll just put services will be reviewed for appropriateness.
Yeah, so I'll go through my ruling and then you can scribble in notes.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
I do want to ask Mr. Ruiz because of something I read in the permanency report directly. So he's going to need to unmute Mr. Perales. But
Okay.
does he want to work what services he needs to do in this case?
Mm,
And knowing he doesn't have to repeat everything, what we've been talking about. But does he want to stay involved with us and be considered placement for the child?
Mire, señora juez, ah, he, he estado comenzando a pensar que tal vez ah, en cierto caso Máximo está bien con las personas que está ahorita. Eh,
All right, I'm going to let him discuss this with Mr. Morales. So he definitely needs to talk to his attorney about this.
And Judge, I'll have a detailed conversation once we can kind of narrow down what services he's actually going to be looking at. I think, again, when I had conversations with Mr. Ruiz,
Slow down. Slow down.
when I had conversation with Mr. Ruiz, his biggest frustration at the time was just, again, the amount of harassment that he was being subjected to by Miss Browning. And he thought maybe not showing some involvement would stop that, which obviously I don't think is necessarily his best choice. But I'll talk to him again once we retailer services. And again, I think maybe a no contact provision may be beneficial for him.
Okay. All right, then for today, I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will continue the child's current placement. I'm going to adjudicate Marco Ruiz as the father of the child, Maximo Ruiz, and establish the parent-child relationship between the two of them. I do find there would be a continuing danger to return the child home to either parent at this time. I'm going to find that Mr. Ruiz is in compliance with his service plan at this time. I'm going to find that Ms. Browning is not. I am going to enter a no contact order between the parents. So what that means is no contact. You don't text, you don't call, you don't knock on doors, you don't send flowers, you don't social media, message each other. No contact means no contact. other than here in court proceedings. You all should have no direct or indirect contact. Ms. Browning, do you understand that?
All right. Yes, I do.
All right. Mr. Ruiz, do you understand that?
Sí.
Okay. All right, I will see you all back for our next review hearing on August 11th of 2026. That'll be a 9 o'clock docket. Our final in this case is scheduled for October 20th of 2026, also on a 9 o'clock docket. Mr. Morales, be sure he understands he's on a short fuse to do whatever needs to be done. I'm not sure he'll have that much to do.
Yes, Judge, I will let him know. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you all very much. Ms. Sermon, thank you again for sitting in for Ms. Archer. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The final ruling is decisive and layered. The father gains legal recognition immediately, which strengthens his position long term. At the same time, the court blocks both parents from regaining custody right now, prioritizing the child's stability. But the contrast is clear. He's compliant, she's not. That distinction will drive everything going forward. The no-contact order is more than protection. It's containment. It removes emotional interference from the legal process. The judge defines it aggressively, leaving no room for interpretation. That signals zero tolerance moving forward. Timelines are also locked in, which adds pressure. The father is warned clearly, this opportunity is temporary. The phrase short fuse isn't casual. It's a deadline disguised as advice. The system has now aligned in his favor, but only if he acts fast. The mother, meanwhile, is boxed in by her own record. From here on, progress isn't optional. It's survival.